From the nation's capital, Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce. A weekly discussion about the federal issues most important to Nevada. And now, from Washington, D.C., here's Marilee Joyce.
And good day to you. This is Eye on Washington, the only statewide Nevada news program produced in Washington, D.C. Every week, Eye on Washington takes you straight to Capitol Hill for a discussion with Nevada's delegation and other leaders about the federal matters that matter to you. Today's topic, serving those who've served us, how one Nevada U.S. Congresswoman wants to improve the health, education, employment opportunities, and overall well-being of Nevada veterans. And she is my guest today, Nevada U.S. Congresswoman Susie Lee. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
225,000 veterans call the Silver State home. And as far as her goal to meet their needs, the Congresswoman has her work cut out for her. And today on Eye on Washington, we're going to learn the top issues facing today's Nevada veteran. We'll find out about my guest's Veterans Affairs Committee and how she plans to use her membership to help her veteran constituents. And we'll learn how she used this year's State of the Union as an opportunity to shine a spotlight on a particular veteran's issue. Well, far too many of those 225,000 Nevada veterans need to see an improvement in services from the federal government to help them manage the many serious problems they face. For example, according to the Nevada Veterans Comprehensive Report, Nevada veterans make up 11.5% of the total homeless population. Nevada veterans commit suicide at a rate much higher than the national rate. Many lack the educational skills needed for the top-paying jobs. In rural Nevada, health care is difficult or impossible to access, and those are just several examples of problems confronting our Nevada veterans. Some potential good news for them, though. One of Nevada's new congressional leaders, the daughter of an Army veteran, has been appointed to serve on the House Veterans Committee and says she's focused on meeting these and other veterans' needs. Congresswoman, first of all, welcome to Eye on Washington. Nice to have you here.
Happy to be here and
Thank
happy
you.
to be talking about veterans.
Well, we're going to look at your committee, its jurisdiction, your goals for your membership on it. But for right now, I thought we'd just take a broad look at the many needs of the Nevada veteran today and what you see as your congressional goal, your congressional role to meet them.
Listen, I mean, our men and women who put their lives on the line for us and for our freedom need to have access to the best care that they can get and access to economic opportunity. So as part of my goal is making sure that we're providing them with the resources they need to get the health care they need, to get the benefits they've earned, and most importantly, to get jobs and to get on their feet and live a dignified, complete, economically independent life. And so, you know, as you mentioned, homelessness is a major issue, and making sure that we're getting them the economic independence they deserve.
You know, we've covered veteran suicide many times here on Eye on Washington because it is such a crisis situation. The state of Nevada ranks 6th in the nation for veteran suicide. In fact, onceasoldier.com says 1 out of every 631 total suicides in Nevada in 2016, of that many, 107 were veterans. So it is really a crisis. What's needed from the Hill?
It is a crisis. It's a crisis in Nevada. It's a crisis across the country. Over 20 veterans a day die by suicide. So basically, and 6 of those are accessing VA services. So one of the main issues that we're trying to address, in fact, we just had a committee hearing last week about veteran suicide, is basically getting these veterans, it's prevention, right? And getting them into the services they need before it becomes a crisis. So it's not only working with VA, but also our VSOs, making sure that practitioners, when they see veterans, when they come in, you know, whether it's primary care, that we're asking the questions, have you thought about taking your own life? Have you had suicidal thoughts? And providing them with the resources. Sadly, Nevada ranks last in the country in terms of mental health practitioners available.
We did a whole show on
and
that.
So making sure that we're doing our part to get, first of all, fill the pipeline. And that's that goes far beyond Veterans Affairs, but making sure we're doing as a delegation what we need to be doing to get mental health practitioners into our state.
And speaking of which, you know, when researching for the show, I saw a statement that one of your big goals that you want to achieve is improving mental health services for veterans. And as I said, I've done shows on veteran suicide, which is serious in Nevada. If you've said suicide is something you want to address, you've mentioned that mental health is there are the needs are not being met in Nevada as far as providing services
for the whole population. Yeah.
How do those go together, and what can you do to help that out on your committee?
Basically, I mean, first of all, I think we need to look at veteran suicide as a whole person issue, and certainly mental health services are part of it, but also making sure we're providing them with the pathway for economic independence and getting them into this, training they need to get good paying jobs, making sure that they have a roof over their head, and certainly providing, I say just, ground level preventative services and making sure we're having these conversations. I mean, so many veterans they're coming out of armed services where it's, you have a mission, you know what you're doing, you're marching to orders, and so then they get out, they're struggling to get their feet on the ground, and so making sure that not only are we providing them with the resources helping them, but also making it safe to talk about their issues that they're having.
We're almost out of time for this segment, but I want to touch on education quickly. One of the things we've covered here is that when a veteran returns from service, he might lack or she might lack the skills needed for some of those top-paying jobs. What's most needed there?
First of all, I think most needed is getting them on a pathway for education, and they have GI benefits that they get, and making sure those are being put to use to the best return on investment. And so there are many predatory, we can go on, this can be a long conversation, many predatory schools that are going after veterans, promising them a job after that will give them so much pay after they complete, and making sure that we're holding those schools accountable, and that we have the 90-10 loophole. So a lot of these for-profit schools are going after veterans because it allows them to access more money. And so really one of the big issues, I'm starting the Veterans Education Caucus to make sure we are providing incredible oversight on this, and that veterans are accessing the best type of education to put them on a path to get good paying jobs.
Okay, that's something to follow up on later. When we return, my guest, House Veterans Affairs Committee, and how she plans to use her membership to meet the many needs of Nevada veterans. We're going to have the details right after this.
You're watching Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce, brought to you by Caesars Entertainment, the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County, the Las Vegas Sands Corporation, the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, NV Energy, Jim Marsh Automotive and Body Shop, the Rogich Communications Group, and Renown Health.
I have 3 tests next week. I'm going to be studying all weekend. Ugh. Are you studying tonight? We can meet up and study together. Oh yeah, that sounds good. What time? I work until 6. Okay, sounds good. Just text me after. Okay. No!
There is no text, tweet, or call that's worth a life.
One pedestrian death is one too many.
Look up.
And look out for each other.
Want more federal news that affects Nevada, its businesses, and its residents? Then you need to subscribe to Nevada's Washington Watch newsletter, your sole source of online news direct from Washington, D.C. Visit joycecommunications.com and subscribe today.
Planet Hollywood, Paris, Harrah's, Caesar's Palace. It's one of the most exciting skylines in the world, Las Vegas. Caesars Entertainment has nearly 50 casinos worldwide, including these. But no matter which casino you visit, we want you to play responsibly. And if you need help setting or keeping a limit, we hope you'll call this number. You see, we know you're coming to our casinos to have a good time, and we always want you to leave feeling like you did.
I
got my own iPod Touch and use my dad's login to get on gambling sites. Poker is the best, but I'm losing a lot. Since I'm too young to play, they're not allowed to keep the money and my dad won't find out. That's right, isn't it?
And welcome back to Eye on Washington and our look at issues important to Nevada veterans and what one Nevada U.S. Congresswoman wants to do to meet them. And she is my guest today, Nevada U.S. Congresswoman Susie Lee. Did you know that Nevada's connection with our military and veterans goes all the way back to our induction into the Union in 1864 during the Civil War? Just a little EOW trivia for you. At the time, President Lincoln was facing a tough re-election battle and he needed extra votes. So we encouraged the adoption of Nevada Territory to officially become the 36th state of the Union. It is because of the induction into the Union during the Civil War that Nevada's motto is Battleborn. Well, my guest says she's here on the Hill doing battle on veterans' behalf, telling the press upon her assignment to the House Veterans Affairs Committee that she will, quote, use my voice to fight for them every day. Here's the jurisdiction of that committee. Veterans measures generally cemeteries in which veterans of any war or conflict are buried, whether in the U.S. or abroad, compensation, vocational, rehabilitation, and education of veterans, government-issued life insurance on account of service in the armed forces, pensions of all U.S. wars, readjustment of service members to civil life, civic relief, and veterans hospitals, medical cares, and treatment of veterans. Congresswoman, you're from a military family. Has your father shared his thoughts on the needs of fellow veterans with you?
Listen, my father was a veteran and actually went to school using the GI Bill. He's since passed away, but it was a you know, it honestly, a key memory was when I was a young girl, he invited 2 Vietnam veterans who were paralyzed into our house. I'm one of 8 kids, so we did not have many bedrooms to spare. So the fact that he was willing to open up his house to these Vietnam vets show you how important it was to him that we take care of our veterans. So certainly set a legacy that I've followed.
Well, I apologize that I did not research that properly, and I'm very sorry for your loss. So you not only serve on the committee, you've already been given a chairmanship. You chair the subcommittee on technology modernization. Please tell us about its purpose.
Well, basically, you know, the VA has a VISTA electronic medical record system currently. There's a lot of issues when active members go from being active to veterans, making sure their medical records travel with them, they can access them. So it's a whole electronic medical record modernization program. My committee was created in 2017, basically as an oversight committee to make sure this is a $10 billion 10-year project, making sure that it's on schedule, on time, but more importantly, that we continue to improve access to medical care and make sure that no veterans get hurt in the rollout of the modernization of the electronic medical records. Major project, big issues with interoperability, not just with the Department of Defense, but also with community care providers. Now that we have the Mission Act, there will be more access for veterans to access community providers, and so making sure that the medical records can talk back and forth to one another.
You know, upon appointment to chair, what you've said fits right into your quote. You told the press that when you're providing proper care for those putting their lives on the line, quote, that means modernizing the VA, investing in the right technology to do so, which is basically what you've said. You know, I love the idea of that, the Battleborn motto, that it comes from the Civil War and Nevada's induction into the Union. It just shows a lot of pride in its military heritage,
Absolutely.
doesn't it? Anything else you want to tell us about your goals for the committee as we wrap up?
No, basically our main goal for the committee is making sure that we roll out this project, which is a huge project, and get veterans the best care they deserve.
Okay, and when we return, how the Congresswoman gave a Nevada veteran a national salute. That's next.
Nevada's direct link to Capitol Hill. Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce. The only statewide Nevada news show based in Washington, D.C. All the top federal matters that matter most to Nevadans. Marilee talks with our congressional delegation and other leaders about the federal news you need to know. Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce, Nevada's Eye on Capitol Hill.
When you think RTC, what comes to mind? How about jobs? RTC road projects bring thousands of jobs to Washoe County, expanding and connecting northern Nevada, growing our local economy, providing a more secure future for our residents and their families. So when you think jobs, think RTC. Your RTC, the RTC of Washoe County.
If you have a past felony conviction, you may be eligible to regain your right to vote. In Nevada, once you have completed your sentence, you have the right to restore your voting rights. To begin this process, or if you have any questions, call Restore Your Vote at 702-800-0779. That's 702-800-0779. Or email Aaron at restoreyourvote.org for free assistance. Let your voice be heard. Restore your vote.
Planet Hollywood, Paris, Harrah's, Caesar's Palace. It's one of the most exciting skylines in the world, Las Vegas. Caesars Entertainment has nearly 50 casinos worldwide, including these. But no matter which casino you visit, we want you to play responsibly. And if you need help setting or keeping a limit, we hope you'll call this number. You see, we know you're coming to our casinos to have a good time, and we always want you to leave feeling like you did.
Safety. We all think about it. You think about it when he buckles in, when you check your mirrors and put away your phone. RTC thinks about safety too. In fact, we create it. Center turn lanes mean fewer blind spots. Bike lanes keep cyclists and you safe. Roundabouts reduce injury collisions, and all these crosswalks are designed to keep families like yours safe. Safety is your priority, and it's ours too. Every day, in everything we do.
And welcome back to Eye on Washington, our discussion of how my guest committee assignments benefit Nevada. We've been visiting with her, Nevada U.S. Congresswoman Susie Lee. Did you watch the State of the Union last February 5th? Well, one Nevada veteran watched it up close. In fact, right next to my guest, the Congresswoman. Congresswoman Lee brought as her special guest a Nevada veteran who she says suffered financial harm after returning from service in Afghanistan and Iraq. Sergeant Isaac Saldivar is a Marine Corps veteran who now works to help other veterans stay active as in the Las Vegas program coordinator for emerging vets. When he returned to Las Vegas following his military service, Sergeant Saldivar enrolled in a for-profit college. When he was only 3 classes away from graduating with an associate's degree, the institution closed. The Congresswoman says that caused him to lose 2 years of GI Bill benefits. In a statement to the press before the State of the Union address, Congresswoman Lee said this of her guest, quote, "Sadly, Sergeant Saldivar's story is similar to that of thousands of our veterans who come back home looking for an education only to be preyed upon by for-profit institutions. I'm bringing him to thank him for his service to our country and our veterans, and to remind everyone of our commitment to protect veterans and to underscore the importance of holding for-profit colleges accountable." Congressman, why again did you choose this vet? Tell us more about what happened regarding his education situation and how you came to learn about him in the first place.
You know, I have I actually employ 3 veterans on my staff, 2 in Nevada and 1 here in Washington. And learned about them through one of my staff members in the story. And the bottom line is this is not an uncommon story, that veterans come back, they're you know, going to get education, to get a job, to get on their feet, and they use their GI benefits. A lot of these men and women get benefits not only just for their education, but also for their housing. They go to schools. When the school closes, you know, they have a major disruption in their plans for their future. And then they have to fight to get their GI benefits reinstated. Often it doesn't happen in a timely manner or to fully and completely to reimburse them. And so, especially in a case of Isaac, it just totally threw his plans. And now, fortunately, he found,
lost,
yeah,
right?
but fortunately now he is doing great work as a coordinator for Merging Vets, which is an incredible organization helping many of our vets in Southern Nevada, through exercise and fitness. So I just wanted to highlight that we need to make sure that when veterans are accessing their education benefits, that we're protecting them and making sure that they're having access to the highest quality education that actually produces positive results for them.
What was Sergeant Saldivar's reaction when you contacted him and said you wanted to bring him to the State of the Union? That's quite an exciting thing, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible that he had an opportunity to come here, and he took the time to tour. I took him over to the Iwo Jima Memorial, the Marine Memorial, and it was an incredible experience for him to be here.
That's excellent. When we return, veterans legislation she plans to introduce or support. What's on her legislative agenda for vets? We're going to ask her right after this.
Planet Hollywood, Paris, Harrah's, Caesar's Palace. It's one of the most exciting skylines in the world, Las Vegas. Caesars Entertainment has nearly 50 casinos worldwide, including these. But no matter which casino you visit, we want you to play responsibly. And if you need help setting or keeping a limit, we hope you'll call this number. You see, we know you're coming to our casinos to have a good time, and we always want you to leave feeling like you did.
Nevada's direct link to Capitol Hill. Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce, the only statewide Nevada news show based in Washington, D.C. All the top federal matters that matter most to Nevadans. Marilee talks with our congressional delegation and other leaders about the federal news you need to know. Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce, Nevada's Eye on Capitol Hill.
I got my own iPod Touch and use my dad's login to get on gambling sites. Poker is the best, but I'm losing a lot. Since I'm too young to play, they're not allowed to keep the money and my dad won't find out. That's right, isn't it?
Are you studying tonight? We can meet up and study together. Just text me after. Okay. No!
There is no text, tweet, or call that's worth a life.
One pedestrian death is one too many.
Look up. And look out for each other.
Nothing mattered more than getting my fix. I was on the verge of being homeless. My house was being foreclosed on. It took everything that I had. Knowing that I did this to myself, that it could have been prevented, makes it worse. It just takes one.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
Want more federal news that affects Nevada, its businesses, and its residents? Then you need to subscribe to Nevada's Washington Watch newsletter, your sole source of online news direct from Washington, D.C. Visit joycecommunications.com and subscribe today.
And it is time for our closing segment of today's Eye on Washington. We've had as our special guest today, Nevada U.S. Congresswoman Susie Lee. Congresswoman, when you were a candidate for the House, what did you learn from your Nevada constituents regarding the top needs for veterans?
First and foremost, they just want to make sure that they're getting taken care of in terms of their benefits and health care. Also, Blue Navy veterans was a big issue that was raised with me, making sure that veterans who were exposed to Agent Orange on ships off of Vietnam get their benefits. And so I was proud to be a co-sponsor of the Vietnam Vet Blue Navy Act, so to help those men and women access benefits that they deserve.
You know, earlier in the show, we didn't get a chance to touch on the needs and sometimes unique needs of rural Nevada veterans. I know health care is a major problem there, very difficult to access, having to travel many miles to see a doctor.
Yeah, absolutely. So many veterans have to come, if they're in Laughlin, et cetera, they have to travel to Las Vegas to our vet centers. And that's why the Mission Act is important, making sure that these men and women can access community providers in their own communities, and also, which ties into my work that I'm doing with the electronic health records, making sure that those records transfer, that we're not losing their data, that they're able to access their data when they go and access medical care through the community.
Looking ahead, this Congress, any veterans legislation you plan to introduce or support?
Well, actually, I'm about to introduce legislation with Congressman Watkins from Kansas. It's the Employing Student Veterans Act, which basically will provide incentives to companies to employ student veterans. And so that's a big piece of legislation that we're really excited about, bipartisan, and we'll get support and get veterans the jobs they need.
Any important other veterans news you want to share with us before we close?
I supported a piece of legislation that allows veterans to access, it was an amendment allowing veterans to access child care at vet centers. Right now, they're only able to access child care at hospitals and medical centers, and vet centers are sort of satellite centers, so making sure that they have access to child care, especially important to our women veterans who are trying to access services, make it as easy as possible.
Is there any top veterans issue that's highest on your plate right now? I know you've talked a lot about the mental health.
Yeah, I think in general, as a country, we need to look at the suicide rate of veterans as a top priority, and obviously for me, it's education, making sure that our men and women are accessing education benefits and getting off on the right path in economic security.
Thanks so much for being here, and I'm going to look forward to having you on the show again soon.
Great, thank you, Marilee.
And I hope you will join us next week for another look at federal matters that matter most to you in Nevada. In the meantime, though, we are always here from you, providing all the federal news Nevadans need to know. You can just go to our website, joycecommunications.com. While you're there, check out all the federal issues that impact Nevada. You can like us on Facebook and follow me on Twitter. Catch up with any shows you may have missed on our YouTube page. Thanks for joining us on Eye on Washington. I'm Marilee Joyce in Washington, D.C. Have a great day.
Thank you for watching Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce. Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce airs statewide in Nevada solely due to the generosity of our sponsors. Can your company help us continue our mission to remain Nevada's top source of federal news? If you can help us help Nevadans, please visit joycecommunications.com/WordPress/EOW sponsors and join us today. That's joycecommunications.com/WordPress/EOW sponsors.